Salutations! Hello.
So, could Penny be brought back? Well, after thinking about it a lot, I'd say probably not. Thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you around. Unless... Well, let's be clear from the start, what I'm about to discuss here is only pure basic speculation, backed up by pretty much nothing other than coincidence, a little bit of stretching of some existing plot lines, and probably a good dose of projection and wishful thinking. As far as we know, Penny is indeed completely dead for good this time, and it's intended by the writer to stay this way at least for the foreseeable future. Because this time, there is no take back, there is no cheating death. That being said, it exists some slim glimpse and possibility for Penny to be brought back into the narrative, and we are going to take a look at this possibility. But before we start, let me stress out one more time that everything I'm about to discuss is to be taken with a big freaking grain of salt, and it's more of a thought experiment more than anything else. With that being said, let's take a look at these possibilities. In Volume 7, there was a scene in the episode Worst Case Scenario, and most notably some line of dialogues between Pietro and RWBY that always intrigued and stuck with me.
Much to my surprise, the Penny project was chosen over all the other proposals.
Why would you be surprised? You created an artificial aura.
Not quite.
You gave her part of yours?
Yes, and each time I rebuild Penny, it takes a little more.
From that scene, we know Penny's artificial body was created by Pietro with the help of Ironwood and Atlas resource, and that her aura, and by definition her soul, was derived from Pietro's aura. We also know that Pietro doesn't have enough aura left in him to create Penny once again in the case she gets destroyed. You can get two meanings from this. Either Pietro indeed doesn't have enough aura left in him, and that's about it, or you can understand that he can use his remaining aura to create once again Penny, but that it would kill him. In the first case, one could wonder what would happen if Jaune boosted Pietro's aura. Could he do it then without dying? That one is mostly pure crack, since by now Pietro and Jaune aren't even in the same dimension. The second case is a little bit more interesting to me, because I have been persuaded, since hearing Pietro say these words in Volume 7,
if the people get their wish and she's destroyed, I won't be able to...
that Penny was destined to be destroyed once again, and that Pietro would sacrifice his life to bring back his beloved daughter once again. From then on, every time we saw Pietro again, the only thing my mind saw around him was a big old red flag of death. Then, in Volume 8, Penny became a human, and for a fleeting moment in time, it seemed a happy ending would await Pietro and Penny. And then... Okay, so no happy ending then. From that point onwards, Pietro could theoretically construct a new Penny and give away the last of his aura to make her a human soul again. The downside of that idea is that with Penny's original body having been destroyed by Ambrosius magic, there is no core to be taken back this time, and this Penny would be a completely new soul without the memories or experience of our original Penny. On that bitter note, and thinking that even with Pietro sacrificing himself to bring Penny back again, her soul would never be the same, my mind started to think about something else. Because while Pietro was the original spark in creating Penny's soul and making her who she is, between volume 7 and 8, another being had his hands on Penny's soul, someone a bit more magical. And there, my first video that wasn't an AMV or a cracked RWBY video was a video about Ambrosius and how Human Penny was created by RWBY being basically a rule lawyer and playing around the rules imposed by the gods to Ambrosius. I ended up the video with this. That slide was linked to a particular line from Mr. Ambrosius himself.
But a soul without a complete body, what would be left?
Again, like with Pietro, you could have two meanings from that line. Either a throwaway line to explain what happened to Penny's soul, or, and for the sake of argument, we're going to focus on that line of thinking, to indicate that we don't really know what happened to Penny's soul when a human body was created. And from then on, one could argue that since Ambrosius himself is not very sure of the end result, there is a very high probability that some soul shenanigans are in play here. And then, on the same line of thinking, one has to wonder how Pietro's aura is linked to Penny's, and if him using that aura again to create a new Penny would have a link to the start quotation original Penny and quotation. Since Penny doesn't have a core to recuperate anymore, the only thing that is defining Penny memories and experience are her, well, soul. A soul that was stuck out of her original body and a soul that was altered with literal magic. A soul that is right now either in the afterlife drinking cocktails with Pyrrha, or, more simply,
I won't be gone. I'll be part of you.
part of winter. If Pietro took the jump and sacrificed himself to bring Penny back, there is no telling how that would affect the soul that is still somewhere. Would a whole new Penny could be created, like a twin or a clone, without her memories and experience? Or would that pull back the Penny we know? This is where any kind of argument I have stops, because it depends heavily on a lot of things we do not know. How did Ambrosius' magic change Penny's soul? Did it even change her soul in any way? What does it mean for her to be a soul without a body? How Pietro's aura is linked to the creation of a new aura and a soul in the form of Penny? And are they still linked even after her death? It's important to note that something that could also completely sidestep any of the issues and any of the arguments I had is that the writers could just have Penny's soul be around the island of creation with Team RWBY, maybe trapped there because she is indeed a soul without a body. As said in the intro of the video, it's mostly pure speculation, and it's better to just assume that Penny is indeed dead and intended to stay dead for good this time. That being said, bringing Penny back again would be a weird and darkly funny coincidence, because in the original version of Pinnochio, published in 1881, the story originally ended with Pinocchio being, well, hanged by a crowd. There was no one to save him, no deus ex machina, he was dead, and that was it. The writer, Carlo Collodi, wanted to basically warn kids that,
man, fuck them kids, bro.
and that disobedient children will face dire consequences for not listening to their parents. A pretty grim conclusion that was not to the taste of the editor of the paper where the tale was published. Either for monetary reasons, since the Adventures of Pinocchio was very popular at the time, or because he thought it was a little bit too dark, or even maybe both, the editor asked for a continuation to the story. Enter the Blue Fairy, Pinocchio is resurrected, and after more adventures, he ends up learning his lessons and living happily ever after. To get back to Penny, Penny died already once, but it was a death that for a lot of us we knew was only temporary. We didn't add the specifics of her creation at this time or the condition for her to exist, but basically we knew she was a robot. We had a glimpse of Pietro in Volume 3 when Penny died, and all of these things pointed out to Penny being sooner or later back into the realm of the living. Her second death, being far more permanent since now she's a human, is the one that is supposed to stick out and pull at our heartstrings. Her life tragically cut short when it seemed she had cheated death twice. So it would be a darkly funny coincidence if Penny, like Pinocchio, is brought back again because of her popularity, or because the writers of the show decide that finally, maybe having her dying like that is a little bit too grim and cruel of an ending. At the end of the day, I'll soulign that I don't really think Penny will come back in the future. After all, RWBY's core thematic is about learning and accepting death, even if it is unexpected and cruel. Penny chose and gave her life away so that other people could live. She made the choice to be, in the end, the protector of Atlas and Montel. And to quote from another Rooster Teeth franchise,
"They'll never know if the day was really saved. In the end, they just have to have faith. Ain't that a bitch?"
I'm not sure a lot of people would care about the how and the why, and would just be happy to see Penny being brought back again. So, do you think Penny could be back in the future? Should she be back? You can leave, as always, your opinions in the comment section, or you can even come up with more crazy theories about how she could come back. In the meantime, much love, and I'll see you around.